Hi everyone. Welcome to Correct My Swing's very first podcast, blog, vlog, whatever we want to call this. And we're going to start off with what we feel is the most appropriate thing. Is a bit of a rant into why we started Correct My Swing. So just a little bit of introduction. My name is Andy Osgood. I am a chartered physiotherapist by background, who specialises in movement dysfunction. And I'll introduce Josh.
I'm Josh Carter. I'm a former PGA professional. Spent the best part of 10 years as a PGA pro. Played golf pretty much all my life, so I've been in and around the industry and the sport for virtually as long as I've been alive. I'm now a certified personal trainer and work with golfers on their strength and conditioning, movement capabilities, capacities in the gym, but also applying my previous golf knowledge and playing and technique expertise to help them improve performance further, not just the movement side of things.
And I think it's important that we, for you guys watching us for the first time, is to understand that, we both have created and we both come together from our different backgrounds, haven't we?
Yeah, physio meets strength.
Yeah, but for
movement meets.
Purpose. And unfortunately, that we saw some real big frustrations in the industry. Me personally, I was seeing an awful lot of very young professional golfers who would come with some big injuries, and we're talking 20-year-old professional golfers, weren't we, Josh, that had basically given themselves through poor movement choices and obviously repetitive practice, and actually given themselves prolapse discs. We've seen lots of pros that have been in a long time, or very amateur golfers who've been getting lots of niggles and lots of injuries and just weren't getting the best advice overall. So
certainly for the younger players, that golf now, it's like any other sport. Golfers are specifying and just solely focusing on golf at younger and younger ages. So from that obviously becomes you play more golf from a younger age when you haven't fully developed yet. So you're putting your body under stresses and strains that it may not be able to fully cope with. Possibly developing poor movement patterns from a younger age. But that just leads to simple things like overuse. The injury rate goes through the roof. But then now all they're told to do is, yeah, you're fine. Just get really strong. Just go and do big heavy weights. Go and lash med balls against the wall. Go and do box jumps. Go and do everything explosive and heavy. And you'll be absolutely fine. You let the ball miles and you'll be amazing.
Now, for those of you who have been doing this, what we have to also state is the reason why Josh is saying this is because what we're very passionate about is how we move. And this is all well and done. And when we are encouraging that if you want to develop strength and speed and power, those kind of things are great. If you have the ability to move in the right places, and our experience has unfortunately shown that most people who put all that time and effort in, who don't improve or end up in our clinic with us trying to fix them, is because they have, I think it's important to start to establish that due to our lifestyle factors, we all do move differently. We all have movement choices. And what we don't know is because it's not like we plug ourselves in and it says, oh, by the way, a certain muscle's getting a bit stiff and a bit tight today. Yeah. Naturally, by the time we become aware that anything is overload or stiff or tight, we get those niggles, or we're aware of it. So I think it's important to understand that as we go through our day-to-day lives, what's happening is how we move, we're not always aware. And so and if we're restricted in some way, we're going to move more from other areas.
The body's very clever, isn't it? It will always find the path of least resistance to do not necessarily what it should do, but just find a way to get the task done. But unfortunately, that often all we tend to be doing is adding to dysfunction rather than fixing or even looking at the source of the problem. We just tend to want to build on top of it. It's like trying to build a house on sand. It's just not going to work, is it?
But it's not. And I think the other thing to really, you only have to look at some of the research papers within golf if you're going to be like me and spend all the time in. One of the things that actually golf does do, because it's an asymmetrical sport, because it needs repetition to be good.
Oh, believe me.
Yeah, but it does, doesn't it? I haven't spent enough time on a golf course, probably shows in my golf. But one of the things that it does is, so that creates its own muscle imbalances on itself. And I think that's important for people to recognize is as you play more, because of the acceleration, deceleration, the body has to, the left side and the right side have to do different tasks for you to be able to do stuff. So you're going to develop muscles in different ways during a golf swing anyway. If you're then encouraging that same pattern in a gym, say, scenario with a really, really heavy thing.
Yeah, heavy squats or med balls or just like rotational slams and all those sorts of things. Like, arguably, it's you're just adding to, like, adding insult to injury almost. You're repeating something that you're going to do 50 to 60 to 70 times in a round. And then if you go to the driving range once or twice a week or practice your golf once or twice a week, you're probably going to do another 100, possibly 300 swings again. And then you go to the gym and throw a heavy med ball at it, like explosively, trying to generate more speed and more power and generate more force, which is fantastic. But like the stuff that you do to benefit your golf in the gym doesn't, nor really should it, emulate a golf swing that much. You want to build a body that's robust to cope with it, that can actually support you, can help you, can help your ball flights, not just make the ball go further, but, well, it's not going to give you any more control, so you set it further into the rubbish.
But I think that's important for people to understand that, actually, when you talk about robustness, we do have to be robust, so we have to be strong. At the end of the day, again, using a bit of stats that, especially through, and as you learn, as we talk about this, we're going to go very much into anatomy. And if you're not, I'm just about to launch my lower back pain. Why have I got lower back pain in my golf swing blog, which will be out very, very shortly. But one of the big things with that is we know that 8 times our body weight, so if you know how much you weigh, times it by 8, can go through our L4, L5. So that's the bottom of our lower back during a golf swing. So that's an awful lot of force. So we know we have to be strong, but if you haven't got the ability to move well through there, that can also include that you put more and more stress through it because you've got inefficiency in your golf swing.
Yeah.
And that's where we kind of get very worried. So
that's what led us to do what we're doing, isn't it?
It is. So for those of you that don't know what we're doing, then what we've done is we've come together. We spent the best part of 2 years now, haven't we, analysing, looking at the market that was in, the link between very good coaching. We've been very fortunate and privileged to spend a lot of time working and speaking to lots of good coaches who have been supporting us along our journey and our research. We've been looking at the evidence around why swing faults occur and also why injuries occur within golf. So we've been looking at all that. And we did our own little study, which we've had some great fun doing. We've met some fantastic people along the way. And we basically, we used a golf movement screen that I've been very fortunate to be involved in when using for the last 10 years. Which we actually put Josh through, that
was a laugh.
which we did when we first met, which was good, and it's kind of our introduction. Because you kind of, I guess, summarize the fact of, somebody who's a very, very good golfer, plays very well, but there's probably improvement in your movement.
But it was brilliant on a personal level because obviously you'd never seen me swing a club, you'd never seen me hit a ball, nothing. But obviously I knew what my personal swing faults were that I'd had pretty much like all my golfing career, or all my golfing life, should I say. And then like as soon as I was put through the screen, it showed me exactly why, essentially. It wasn't just, you've got tight hamstrings, go and do some stretches and off you pop sort of thing. Like it was so specific in terms of, well, actually, I really struggle with this shot shape. And instantly going back through the screen and looking at the data and the results that it produces, like, well, actually, you produce this shot shape because of this, 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 and this. And it was like, wow.
Yeah, it's powerful.
Where's this bit? Where was this 15 years ago?
Well, and I think that's the thing. I mean, this data has always been out there. I think that it's just been now, with, you know, especially in the golf, it's just catching up to understand that actually how it can do. You know, I think if to be controversial about this, which I think it probably could be our mantra about challenging beliefs within the sport, is the fact that I think it's always been very much coaching led, and kind of it's repetitive. So it's like, go and have your lesson, keep having this lesson, and keep going down that pathway until eventually your swing improves. Or you probably just need to get really, really strong, go and do some strength work, and, you know, which again is a conversation, because most people's strength and conditioning that they do, as we talked about, probably isn't suitable for golf, or isn't heavy enough or loaded enough to actually make any physiological changes anyway. So actually they're going and doing a few bicep curls so that they look good in the shirt, but actually it's not improving their performance at all. Whereas what we've found, and like you found when we first met, that actually by identifying specificity in a movement pattern, we can be very accurate. Now, for me, that works nicely because as a golfer, you've got busy lives. You've already highlighted, you've got to spend a lot of time practicing. And that's not just practicing the drivers. You've got to do the putting, the chipping, all the other things that need to go with being a good player.
Oh, all the aspects.
But we've got to be then time efficient, haven't we? There's no point me saying to you, look, you know, go and do this 3-hour workout every day, because
you've got to spend a minimum of 60 minutes in the gym, and 60 minutes in the gym is not 60 minutes. It's probably at least an hour and a half, because you've got to go there, get changed, shower, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. You've got all the other stuff that comes with it.
So this is why we were curious to see, right, could we take a load of golfers? Could we screen them? Could we look at their ball flight data? So when we used them, we looked at the ball flight data, we looked at how they moved using the movement thing, and then we compared the two. So we took everybody that had a certain swing fault, and then
so like if you had a tendency to start the ball left, so that would be the pull, hook, or a slice. So in terms of the start line, the direction of the curve and where it finishes isn't overly relevant. It's more the tendency where it starts, because that's going to be the bigger influence. That's going to have the biggest influence in terms of like, or your body's going to influence that the most. In terms of your curvature on the ball, that just depends on the relationship between like the direction the club is traveling and the direction the club face is pointing at impact. Obviously, you've got the other side of things, which is the right. So anything that starts to the right of the target, which is going to be your push slice, your push, or then your hook. So from there, obviously, those ball flights, we were hoping that we could correlate and link, well, has the body got some contributing factor of causing these problems?
And that's what we started out with, a bit of a seek to understand curiosity, wasn't it? That was there a common factors that, you know, everybody with this similar shot fault or swing fault, did they kind of move the same? It was a bit of a fall off our seat moment when when we sat down, looked at the data and went, yeah, actually, there it is.
You know, identical.
There is some actually real big similarities into why people had a swing fault and to link to how they move. So then the next question we had to ask ourselves as well, can we do anything about it? You know, and the nice thing that Josh has already said with our screening was we were able to, due to the specificity of what we created, we could then break that down into certain muscle groups that we would then look to retrain. And we retrain these in two different ways. So when we call low threshold, we're basically talking about how our brain and our body connect. Is that
like mind muscle connection stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, the mind body connection.
Some of you like old school bodybuilders out there that have done a bit of training, will be like the Arnold Schwarzenegger mind muscle connection stuff. And there is absolute like validity and science in that. It's not just him waffling on nonsense. It does actually mean something, that it's the pathway that when you actually try and create a movement is the right muscle working at the right time.
the motor control units.
There you go.
Firing. There you go. That's the. But so there's that side of it, and this is very important, probably for those of you who have got an issue with your backswing, especially the ones of you that the coach keeps saying to you, "Will you keep your elbow up?"
Yeah, a lot of it, a lot of it you may find like the initial takeaway phase.
Yeah,
like that first 3 feet of the golf swing. That if a fault or a problem starts to happen there straight away, then I mean, it's not all about the takeaway by any stretch. And like the most important part is like your impact. Can you present the club back at the ball consistently and repeatedly? That's the aim of the game. But there's always an argument to say that, well, if you can correct your takeaway, you're just improving your chances to like get the next part of your swing right. And if you've got that bit right, the next part is going to be a bit easier. It's almost like each stage you're unlocking. You unlock each bit.
Yeah, but also there's an argument to say, again, going scientific and physicsy on us, that in that backswing you're almost starting to coil. So
you're creating energy, aren't you? Storing it. You're creating it.
You can't start creating that energy that helps us then transition into it. So it's all part of, like you said, almost setting the scene for the swing, and we know that, and we know that's not a strength related thing, because let's be honest, clubs are getting lighter and lighter.
Oh yeah, crikey.
Most people can pick a club up, and a ball doesn't weigh an awful lot. So that whole thing isn't a strength issue. That's got to be a coordination, motor control issue.
Yeah.
So we looked at that, didn't we? And then we also look at how well people can control it, because I always use as an analogy, it's like having a Ferrari engine and Robin Reliant brakes. There's no point being able to create this phenomenal power if you then can't control it, which, if ever seen myself and some of my colleagues on a golf course, it does look like we're trying to pirouette on the first tee as we try and smash it, but we have no control of power. So you end up spinning on the spot. Not like Josh, who's very graceful on it. But so again, that's what we went to look at, and that's what we went to achieve. And so on that basis, we then created this program. So, and I think it's important for what we're about is, we are very much looking to help golfers that are wanting to improve. That's a big part of what we're about, and what we're attempting to do by doing these kind of videos, and what we're going to be doing through our blogs in the Correct My Swing is purely to educate. I think that's where we see it. We're very much, we like sharing our knowledge.
Yeah, 100%. Like help golfers improve, ultimately understand what they're doing and why they're doing it and why it's happening. Is that ultimately, that will inevitably help you improve your game and ultimately lower your score. And realistically, that's the whole point. Like, you might go to the gym and do all these squats and bicep curls and box jumps and all this speed sprints and power development, force production, all that sort of great stuff. And it is good. Like, don't get me wrong. But ultimately, if your scores aren't coming down, what's the point? Like, if your golf's not getting any better, what is the point? You might be hitting it further. You might strike it better. But if you're not gaining any more control of your ball flight and you're not gaining any more consistency, well, why? What's the point in doing it? Because that is, as a golfer, like as a lifelong golfer myself, like, yes, we'd all love to hit it further. That would be brilliant. But ultimately, if you can't do it consistently, like, why do all the tour pros hit golf balls for thousands of hours a year? Why do they hit hundreds of balls a week, a month? Well, they're trying to create something consistent. They want it repeatable. Yeah, they want extra distance, just like everybody else, but they don't necessarily need it as much as everyone else. They want to be able to walk onto that golf course every week and produce the most consistent game. And ultimately, that's what we're looking for as golfers, and that's what we want to help people achieve.
And I think it's important that, the reason why we're sharing this, because this is the kind of conversations we have daily on one-to-ones with golfers, isn't it? And so it was like one of those things where we kind of decided that we needed to expand our messages, because we're having the same conversation with the same people over and over again. So it was miles easier to record it, and we'd only have to have the conversation once, and we could just get people to share the message in. And I think it's also to consider, like Josh says, to be a good golfer, you've got to spend a lot of time practicing. I think that goes without saying. the problem is that, you know, we all know that if we don't move well, and we can't use that force well, you're not going to be consistent. And secondly, if you're putting, you know, if that force isn't transferred well through the body, then that's where injuries and frustrations occur. So again, that's something that we want to be sharing, is like little tips and hints along the way. So that not only do you become better golfers and lower your scores, but actually do it pain-free. Because
you play more golf. You
play more golf. Because that's,
enjoy it more.
Or at least you enjoy it more. Yeah, exactly. Because, I mean, that's the problem, isn't it? That, you know, one of the things that, again, we find a lot, especially from my perspective, where most people that I see, I've got a problem. Normally by the time they come and see me, it's been a problem for a while. The golf's on a rapid decline, and they're not always in a very happy place, are they? When by the time,
but a lot of it is they're not able to play. You probably find you ask them, like, well, when was the last time you played? So, well, to be honest, I've not played for about 4 weeks. Yeah. Well, why? So, like, my knee's been hurting for that long that, like, every time I like bend down to read a putt, it's just excruciating. I can't do it. Or every time I'm like turning into my backswing, like, my knee's absolutely killing me.
And the problem is, unfortunately, you know, again, what we have seen and what we do know is that if you're playing in pain, you have to move different anyway, because that's what
you're going to make conversations, aren't you?
So you're actually going to be creating bad habits. So if we can, you know, if we can get you moving better, moving more efficient, and you can become a very efficient mover, then you can, you know, start enjoying the medicine ball throws and stuff, can't you? Because
then you can get a bit more like specific in your training. You can start to look at like all the like heavier weights and the different types of strength and so on and so forth. And that's when it will actually serve you, and that's when it will really help, like really start to benefit your golf, because you'll actually be able to harness the extra power and extra distance that you're getting. And I mean, like nowadays, certainly that it's all about a power game, or it's all about getting the ball as far down the hole as you can, certainly off the tee. And there's now the stats and data to back that up. So if you can have greater control over things like your driver, that you can hit it straighter, statistically speaking, you are going to like take less shots per hole. Like, there's data out there to like prove that now. But you need to be able to use your driver confidently off the tee in the first place.
Yeah, and you know, and again, it all comes down to this whole movement efficiency for me, because if you can't transfer force from the foot, you know, and you know, and that's another chatting at all, how important the foot is in golf swing. And you know, that's something that we found, especially in the study that we did and the evidence that we did, that actually a lot of golfers, one, can't stand on one leg.
No.
Considering that
it's pretty important, isn't it?
Well, it's all about the weight shift. So fundamentally, if you break the swing down, it is almost a single leg sport that you have to shift your weight from one leg to another. So the worrying thing, if you can't stand on one leg and you fundamentally fall over, then there's some key errors in the thing. The fact that most people weren't efficient in what the foot did, considering, you know, that's where we push off from fundamentally, and we create force through, and that's our stability element. So, you know, there's quite a lot of things that we found that are really important that I think we've not really found anywhere that people are explaining this well to golfers. So this is what we're trying to do, is to try and help you play better, even get more out of your lessons, you know. And you know, one of the other things, if you're a pro and a coach watching this, you know, fundamentally we have built this with the frustrations that Josh has had over the years, because he wanted to, you know, he's a good lad and he always wanted to do his best for his customers or his clients or his golfers all he could. And the fact that there was limitations in a golfer's movement, that he couldn't deliver his best service, and there's just an all-round frustration because golfer gets frustrated. Is that fair to say?
It's just a vicious cycle, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
The coach wants the pupil to excel and get better, and the pupil wants to excel and get better, but it's almost like the right hand can't talk to the left. There's just that little breakdown in communication, and that breakdown is just how the body is moving. And like I say, you as the coach know the positions that your golfer needs to be in and where they need to improve, and the golfer stood there and they understand what you're saying and they know what to do. But unfortunately, like, yeah, I'm doing it, I've got it. But it doesn't really look that much different. Or it does when you're there, stood there with them. But then as soon as you're not there, it all falls apart. The age-old question would always come and I say, well, I can do it like when you're with me, but I can't do it on the golf course. But it's because you can't do it on the golf course because you don't own those positions, and you don't own those positions because your body doesn't let you.
And I think what is also important to state, and this is why what we've created is 12-week home exercise programs, which we'll talk to more and more about. But I think it's also understanding that if you are going to do something, you have to do it consistently over a while, because there are some rules that we can't change. So
no.
Let's come out there and start off, right? Okay, how the body adapts physiologically, i.e. how cells change and grow and develop, unfortunately have a set of rules. Okay, now there are illegal ways, which we won't go into, to speed that up, okay, which we're not encouraging. But if you know people that have got specially training, got results faster, then supplementations are one way of doing it. Well, the other way is just a natural, and so one of the things along the way, and the reason why we're creating this is, look, what we would also like to do is hear from you. So if there's any topic that you don't feel it's been answered very well, one of the things I can generally say, Josh is very, very passionate about the nutrition that you should be eating on a golf course, the nutrition that you should be doing during training, all those kind of things that, So please do, as we do these, just reach out to us and go, we'd like more about this. We would love to, to know that, so we can focus our efforts and our rants or our conversations, whatever we're going to call them, focused it to want what you want, because we're very, very passionate. That might come across in our giddiness sometimes, that we want to help. The whole idea of the Correct My Swing was to improve the frustrations from a professional who was a coaching professional, and also for you as a golfer, that we wanted you to play better golf, and we didn't want you to end up in a physio clinic or having to deal with us. So that's what basically we're all about. We're really in this to try and help educate as many people as possible how to move better, and fundamentally, like Josh says, how to play better golf. That's what we all want, isn't it?
Well, that's ultimately why you do it. That's why you have lessons. It's why you practice. It's why you play. It's why you put all the work in, why you buy new kit, new equipment, get custom fitted, we all do it as golfers, spend hundreds, if not, well, certainly now, thousands of pounds on new sets of irons, new drivers, new putters, new wedges, like lighter golf shoes, different golf shoes, like even the silly things, like, or small things like the technology in clothing, like less restrictive, all that sort of stuff, that all things that people do take into consideration to try and help them improve, like the marginal gains approach to it. But there seems to be like there's one kind of big piece of the puzzle missing.
Well, we believe so, don't we? And that's what we're really trying to do.
Is that
the only bit I missed there is, what about your bacon butty and your cup of tea on the back of the
night? Oh yeah, and have a beer on the way around as well.
I was going to say that's I thought that was the that's nutrition tips. Yeah,
that's it. Nutrition 101.
Yeah, so that's what we're going to be about, isn't it? That's the kind of where we're going to go. That's the kind of topics we're going to be talking about. The idea is we're going to be interviewing quite a few people over the next months and years, hopefully, as long as people want to keep listening and we want to keep sharing. So it's all good. Right. Keep checking out for us, and we'll see you all very soon.
Thanks for listening.